what it is, y'all, and thanks for tuning in here to another episode here on the Speedbug channel. Today we're going to talk about the S1000. Yeah, my old black baby hasn't been on the channel for a long time, so time to do a little segment on her fine self. So, let's get to it. Talking about the title. Ultimate crotch rocket to date made. And when I say ultimate, that covers everything. Now, I didn't say the fastest. I didn't say the strongest. I didn't say the best cornering or anything like that, because there's a bike that's going to cover that better than every other bike in each category. Meaning your Ducatis and your is going to cover it in your looks department. Maybe your R1s are going to cover it in your cornering department, which the Ducati is damn close. You know, your CBRs and your Jigsters are going to cover it. There's a whole bunch of other things that each bike covers better than another bike does in each category. But what I am going to say is that the BMW, I think, the S1000, the Gen 3, the 2015 and newer, is the best ultimate, the best and the ultimate 1000 or best crotch rocket still made to date. And I'll tell you exactly why. Well, let me say its downfall. Its biggest downfall first is its price, because when it's a base model, it really doesn't offer you much. I think the big four offer you more than the base model, because this bike starts at like 16 grand for a base model. And then when you add in all the options and stuff like that, you push in almost 30. So the biggest downfall is its price. Now, given the fact after you load it up with all the options, that's what makes it kick ass, and that's what makes it awesome. So as you jump into it, why, in my opinion, what makes this bike so awesome? Well, all the electronic features and things that this bike has, and mine here is a 2015. I bought it brand new off the showroom floor, 0 miles, and there's so many things that to me just makes this like the ultimate track bike and the ultimate street bike. Now, if you want to look at the ultimate track bike and stuff like that, then you're going to say the R1M and the V4 and stuff like that. They go around the corners and stuff better than the S1000. Yes, of course, that's a given. But again, most people that buy these crotch rockets, like Ninjas and R1s and CBRs, Jigsters, all these other bikes, you know, Aprilias, whatever, they all ride them majority of the time on the street. Most younger kids and stuff ride them on the street. Now, if they have it as a second or third bike and it's a dedicated track bike or anything like that, then it's going to have raised plastics and stuff like that, because you're not going to want to take your nice fairings on the track and get them all screwed up and your lights pitted and everything from the racetrack from other riders, because, you know, anyone that spent time on a racetrack, first of all, you got to tape up your headlights and stuff so you can't be flashing and blinding folks. And nonetheless, it's going to get all tore up, like I said, from rock chips, from the rock chips sticking from the person's tires in front of you as you got to go up and get close to them, draft them, pass them, whatever it is that you're doing. So, again, aside from that, as a street bike, it's the best combination of everything, because the raw power, the power still 3 years later is remarkably, like, it's still like top 1, 2 of all naturally aspirated motorcycles. And I'm not talking about the Ninja H2 and the H2. I'm talking about an NA bike. The power delivery is still ridiculous. The riding position, it's so much more relaxed as opposed to a lot of the other bikes. It's kind of set up more like the GSXR. And the GSXR riding position is very much so relaxed. The seat is a lot further down. You kind of sit a little bit below the tank hump, where some of the other track-ready bikes, the seat is much more raised to get your ass up a little bit, so when you're crouched down, you're more streamlined with the bike because it's more track-oriented. The tank is much longer, gives you a little bit better reach, so you don't put as much wrist support, or excuse me, you don't need as much wrist support and get as much wrist fatigue when you're riding the motorcycle. Also, given the electronic suspension, which now a lot of bikes have, because in 2015, this was pretty state-of-the-art. Now a lot of bikes have caught up and have it now, but the BMW really pioneered the way for a lot of other bikes and innovation for a lot of other bikes to have this put on bikes, and now it has become standardized, so that you were able to electronically soften and harden the suspension with the dampening and everything like that, with the ride controls. Nonetheless, you didn't have to come over and sit there and turn a knob and anything like the old days. You could do it on the fly, hitting the buttons over here, and it'll tell you on the display. That was like a game changer, and that was awesome. Now, I'm not saying that they were the first ones to do it, but I think they're the first ones to do it very well. Kind of like Apple. They were never really the first ones to do any of the technology that they have, but they just pioneered and perfected the technology to make it usable so that the user interface and the GUI is perfectly manageable for the average individual user. Apple Android, I'm not even going to go into that. That's a whole nother scenario. Another reason, as you ride the bike, it's the engine is really refined. It's super smooth. It's not jerky, even with the factory tune. Now, we all know the factory tune on all bikes, in my opinion, suck. They're there for emissions compliance and drivability and stuff like that. But as you unlock them, get them flashed or have power commanders, and you change the maps and get the fuel delivery ironed out to be refined just a little bit more, it even makes it so much better of a motorcycle. When you want to go have fun, again, talking back to the power delivery, you have the launch control, the wheelie control, the stability control, the traction control, the ABS. You have a good set of street tires on this thing, you don't feel bad about doing 100 miles an hour or so in the rain. You can put it in rain mode. It really softens the power. The throttle response is nowhere near as aggressive, and you feel like you have another level of comfort of riding. Now, I'm not saying that you need to be doing 150 miles an hour and then slamming on the brakes or anything like that. However, just still ride with some care, but it gives you a little bit of extra insurance, and I've tested it, and it does take a long time to really trust the ABS and such so that you're not going to fall, and it's been flawless ever since. Knock on wood that it doesn't happen to me next time I ride it. Another wonderful thing here is, again, the BMW wasn't the first ones to do this as well either, is that the power delivery between the modes, it allows you to really tone the bike down. So let's say you're coming off like a 750 or a 600 and you upgrade to the 1000. Well, I can tell you this, if you're coming from a 600 or a 1000 and you get on even a stock one of these, you're going to be blown away by the power because it's a night and day difference. The power delivery is... That's all I got to say, is to say the least. It's a night and day difference. And you could start it out in the rain mode, then you could move it up to the sport mode, and then as you get more comfortable, you can go into slick mode and play with the traction control and the stability control, and then of course get more comfortable with the bike and maybe take it to a racetrack and enjoy it. And when it goes around a racetrack, which I've had this bike actually on the racetrack a few times, it performs flawlessly. Given the fact of like the angle of the rake of the forks, given to the fact of the riding position that you're in, it is really just a really refined motorcycle. And I think personally, out of all even the 600s and the 1000cc bikes that have come out probably in the last decade, as an all-around street bike, as an all-around track bike, as an all-around looking bike, as an all-around everything bike that you can get on it as a novice and become a really advanced and good rider, it crosses them all off really well in one category, and I think that's also another thing that makes this bike so well. Again, the biggest problem with this bike is the price, given the fact that it has so many features and so many electronics that when it is out of warranty and it does break, of course it is going to be very expensive. You could buy 2 or 3 of the big 4 as opposed to a fully loaded S1000. But those things in times have changed. The big 4, they're starting to creep up in price, and maybe it's now narrowed it down to 2 or so. But you used to be able to get a ZX10 or something like that, like optioned out, a few years ago for like 10 grand. Well, those days are kind of gone now. Those days really don't exist post-recession, and things have gotten a little bit better, and nonetheless, those bikes have a lot more features than they did, 4 or 5 years ago as well. As you look around as far as reliability and such, I really haven't had too many, major issues or anything with this bike. My bike now, I think, has like 8,500 miles on it. It's definitely the bike I've had the longest, and it's the bike I've had the most. And if I was going to sell all of my motorcycles, if I only had to keep one, again, I've said it before, you know, out of the big bikes, I would so keep this bike. I think it's better than all of the current bikes that I own, and it crosses off the list and everything to do. I don't get super tired. Now, it's not like super comfortable like my X Diavolo or my Cruisers or anything like that, but I don't get super tired and fatigued and just like, oh, I want to get the hell off this thing, like how I do on my other crotch rockets and such like that, and many other crotch rockets that I've ridden. This bike really does cross off a lot of things, and most people that have had one, ridden one, and owned one, they will say it really is the ultimate crotch rocket and the ultimate sports bike, that if you want to have the hybrid between both of enjoying it a lot on the street and then occasionally going to the racetrack, absolutely it crosses it off. Now, if you want a bike that's going to dominate so much on the racetrack, you should probably look into like an R1M or a Ducati V4, the one that's there over the cover, and it's going to do that very much so, and a lot better than this BMW is going to do on the racetrack, also given the fact that it has newer technology. But as I've said also in many other videos, that bike is a bitch to ride on the street. It is super stiff, super uncomfortable. The riding position is uncomfortable, and again, it just still looks badass, but still, whatever. That bike is a track weapon. This bike is way more street friendly. This bike really crosses off, and I really think of, the last decade, this is probably the best thing in the 1000 and the 600 and 750 territory that crosses off all of the marks that you really want your street/track bike to do and have fun with it. Again, you just have to be able to afford it and be able to fork out the price, because it's not cheap, and I think that's what really kills it. And that's another reason why you don't see too many of them there on the street, because they are rather expensive. But they have a very distinct sound, very unique sound to the motor and to the exhaust. It doesn't matter what exhaust you have on it. At least with me, because I have a good ear, I could tell when it's a BMW. I could tell when it's a Suzuki or something like that. They all have a very distinct sound and an exhaust note. So, again, if you're looking into a BMW, if you've been holding off on it, I could tell you this: you're definitely not going to be let down. Look into them. If you're going to get one, make sure you get a 2015 and newer. The 2014s and below, they are okay. Some of them have some issues and stuff like that, but I would definitely recommend a 2015 and newer. It has the new frame. It's got the new architecture. But again, they're also supposed to come out with a new one this year, the 2019. So we'll see that one plans out. And if that one is as good as this one was and it's all new and has everything new, well, you already know what's coming to the garage. I ain't even going to lie to you. So maybe something else has got to go, but the BMW is a bad mofo, and that's exactly why I haven't got rid of this bike. And those are just some of the few reasons why I think this bike is the shit. So definitely check one out. Go to your local BMW dealer and take one for a test ride if they'll let you. I think that's going to conclude it for today's video. Don't forget to check me out here on Instagram. If y'all like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe. Instagram name is the Speedbug, same name here as YouTube. And we're going to see some more episodes and some more things about the BMW and all the other bikes here on the Speedbug channel soon. Deuces.